I came back from Portland thinking the only thing that would be different was my mail. Instead, I found a small city where my shoreline used to be. I mean, seriously. Imagine coming home after 8 months of diapers and bottles to find a dozen, no 100 little houses staring back at you all tidy and smug like they'd been waiting for an audience. I'm James. I own the land around Lake Whitmore, have for a long time, and I left in November to help my daughter with her newborn. I closed up my cabin, drove west, changed diapers, learned how to swaddle without strangling a baby, and life was good in its small, noisy way. By July, she was back on her feet, her husband home from deployment, and I was ready to come back to the quiet I'd been paying taxes for and keeping for 60 years. Only the quiet had moved. From my deck, I scanned the eastern shore with binoculars and thought at first my eyes were playing tricks on me. Modern cabins, decks hugging the waterline, a paved parking area, a welcome building, a dock maze with boat slips, families unloading coolers, kids sprinting toward the water, couples sitting with wine, all of it set up like a little resort, perfectly spaced, professionally landscaped. I drove the perimeter dirt road. It took 20 minutes and counted. 109 cabins. 109. I walked into the welcome building, told the woman at the desk my name, and watched her smile fall off her face like it had a schedule. I'm James Whitmore. I own this lake. She blinked. I'm sorry, there must be a mistake. This is the HOA's amenity. The map on the wall said otherwise. The map had their logo, a promotional poster advertising luxury lakefront getaways, and under it prices per night that made my jaw ache. I called my lawyer David from the truck. He came out with a rolling case and it looked like he'd had worse Mondays. We overlaid my deed-updated survey and a current satellite image. Every cabin, each of the 109, sat inside my property lines. Some by 20 feet, some by 80. None of them were on HOA land. I remember David's voice, calm but clear. This is textbook trespassing. So we went to talk to the HOA president. He was mid-50s, sharp suit, practiced smile. He told me they'd checked the records. He told me lakes over 500 acres in Colorado were public recreational resources. He told me they'd been operating for 2 years. He told me they'd spent $12 million. He did not tell me he'd built on my land. Adverse possession was his play, build, operate. Hope the owner is too tired or too poor or too polite to fight. He thought he had a year or two of revenue to blunt any legal fight. We argued. He threatened litigation. I could see the calculus in his eyes drag it out. Keep making money and worry about title later. He laughed when I mentioned the deed. That night I sat on my deck and thought about the dam, about my grandfather showing me the control house, the wheel, the way the gears took a firm hand and turned gallons into a lake. My grandfather built that dam in 1962. Its concrete, steel, and stubbornness, designed to last a century. The lake exists because the gates are closed. I'd been a civil engineer for 35 years. I'd inspected dams, I'd designed them, I knew exactly how long water would take to go somewhere else if you showed it the door. There are legal ways to drain a reservoir, maintenance, inspection, safety. There are practical ways too. I phoned an old colleague, Martin, who'd inspected my dam in 2019 and asked the question I'd been circling like a shark. If I open the gates all the way, how long to drain? He laughed, a sharp, delighted laugh, and gave me a number: 4 to 6 weeks to remove most of it, 12 to 18 months if you wanted thorough. Legally, he said I could do it. If I wasn't violating downstream water rights, I could operate my dam. I slept badly. In the morning, I walked down to the control house, ran my hand along that familiar steel wheel, and felt the old muscle memory kick in. I called David and told him not to file injunctions, not to start a press release. I'm not suing, I said. I'm going to open the gates. He didn't sound happy. He sounded worried about headlines, about optics, about the county. I told him I'd notify the county water office. As a courtesy, I did, and I documented everything. I opened the gates at dawn on August 1st. It wasn't dramatic at first. Water doesn't explode out like a dam movie. It slides away like a bath being emptied. You notice it in inches, then in feet, then in a shoreline that used to be and now isn't. For 3 days, guests still swam, kayaked, checked in. On day 4, the docks had a foot of gap. By the end of week 1, the docks were 3 feet above water and the beaches had grown into patches of mud and exposed rock. People noticed, then panicked. The HOA called. The president called, furious. You can't do this, he said. We paid for bookings. I said what was true. You built on my land. Remove the cabins or I'll consider refilling after inspection. He screamed things, "I won't repeat," then hung up. News travels fast when a lake vanishes. By week 2, the eastern shore looked like a bad movie set. Orderly rows of cabins now sitting on hard, cracked mud docks stranded on dry land boat ramps leading to nothing. Bookings evaporated. The Welcome Center closed with a hastily scrawled sign. Guests demanded refunds. The cabin owners, many of them retirees or people who'd put life savings into a turnkey investment, came down in vans and SUVs to corner me in my driveway, grief and fury steaming off them in equal measure. They were victims, absolutely victims of a bigger fraud. The HOA had sold them cabins as investments without clear deeds to the land. Some of them cried. A woman testified at trial that she'd put her retirement into a cabin. I had sympathy for them. I really did. But sympathy doesn't rewrite property law. They bought structures sitting on land they didn't own. The HOA sold a dream built on someone else's ground. Predictably, the HOA sued me for $40 million, called me vindictive, accused me of using the dam as a weapon. They filed for injunctions, emergency orders, public statements about me drowning a community's livelihood. The judge didn't buy it. 2 hours of hearings, a few weeks of briefing, then a denial of the injunction I owned the dam, and the fact they'd trespassed didn't create an obligation on my part to maintain water for their illegal enterprise. Trial came in November. Garrett, that was the president's name, testified about research and good faith in county GIS maps. He hadn't done a title search. He hadn't hired a surveyor. He'd placed a $12 million bet on an assumption. David cross-examined him until he admitted he never asked me. That admission hung in the courtroom like a bad smell. I testified. I said I'd planned a structural inspection, that the timing was coincidental, that was true and also convenient. The jury didn't decide this one, the judge did, and in December the written opinion was generous in its clarity. Trespass. No obligation for me to keep water levels to support someone else's trespass. And my countersuit for trespassing, damages granted. They had 120 days to remove every cabin and pay damages. The bench never sounded so sweet. That didn't mean the damage was undone. Garrett resigned. The HOA went bankrupt. Cabin owners sued the HOA. Many lost everything. It turned ugly. Lawsuits piled up like snow when you wake up and realize the plow never came. I took some legal hits, 2 times stress money, but when they offered a settlement to remove the cabins and restore the shoreline, I listened. They agreed to $3 million removal in 120 days environmental checks, and once the land was restored, I'd close the gates and refill the lake. Watching the demolition was strangely satisfying. Heavy equipment rolled in excavators, clawed at foundations. Dump trucks took away piles of things that had been worth a lot, and then were just junk. By May, every cabin was gone. An environmental inspection found no contamination. The dirt was scarred but fixable. They seeded the shore with native grasses and wildflowers. It looked raw, then quiet, then almost peaceful. I turned the wheel again in May. Closing that gate felt like closing a long argument. Water pooled, then pushed, then filled. Martin was right, 6 to 8 months with good runoff. By December, the lake was back, almost like it had never left. 800 acres of reflective water, fish coming back, shorelines reclaiming themselves with grasses, and new aspens poking up where a parking lot had been. I won what I wanted. My land restored, the trespassers gone, a settlement that covered the mess. Was it harsh? Sure. Was it legal? Absolutely. Was it the only move that would have worked in anything close to a reasonable time frame? Yes. Because lawsuits can stretch on for years, and meanwhile they'd have been renting my shoreline for cash. You can call it ruthless. You can call it justice. Maybe both are true. I lost a year apiece. I lost money in legal fees that matched the settlement 1 for 1, but I got my lake back, and I sent a message to an entire county: you don't build on other people's land and expect to keep it. Sitting in my boat drifting where cabin number 47 used to stand, I held a trout and thought about what this whole episode taught me. Ownership isn't just a piece of paper. It's maintenance. It's stewardship. It's the stubborn habit of paying taxes and fixing what needs fixing. It's also a responsibility sometimes to act when someone crosses the line and thinks the law will be too slow to stop them. So here's the question I've been asking myself, and I'll throw it to you. When does defending what's yours become punishment for those who were duped into buying into a lie? In this case, the people who bought the cabins were victims, but they were also investors who didn't do their homework. Does their loss feel like justice or collateral damage? Tell me what you think. Was I right to drain the lake, or should I have taken the slow legal route and let them keep profiting off my land until the courts finally sorted it out? Share your take. Tell me if this was property rights defended or something darker. I'll listen.